June 5, 1944. A cold wind moves across the English Channel. Tens of thousands of American soldiers wait in silence. Some pray. Some write last letters home. Some stare into the dark sea, knowing tomorrow might be their last sunrise. America is preparing for the biggest military invasion in human history, because the fate of the world depends on it. Why D-Day mattered. Europe has been under Nazi control for years. Hitler's armies have crushed nations and murdered millions. America knows one truth. If the Allies don't open a Western front, the war could be lost forever. Operation Overlord, D-Day, is the plan to change that. A plan so dangerous that even the generals fear it might fail. The night before. As night falls on June 5, American paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st Airborne climb into their planes. Their mission: drop deep behind enemy lines, seize key bridges, sabotage German defenses, and survive until dawn. But the weather is brutal. Winds are strong. Pilots struggle to see anything. When the green light flashes, the sky explodes with parachutes. Many land miles off target. Some drop into flooded fields and drown. Some are shot before their boots touch the ground. Yet somehow, the mission continues. The invasion begins. June 6, 1944, 6:30 a.m. The ramps of American landing crafts slam open at Omaha and Utah beaches. German machine guns roar instantly. For soldiers at Omaha, there is no cover. Bullets tear through the first waves of men. Bodies fall into the water. Explosions shake the shore. Yet the Americans keep moving. Medics drag the wounded. Engineers cut through barbed wire under fire. Infantry climb cliffs with bleeding hands, refusing to stop. This is the moment that decides the war, turning the impossible into victory. By noon, American troops break through German lines. By evening, thousands of U.S. soldiers stand on French soil, exhausted, covered in mud and blood, but alive. Against every odd. Against storms, gunfire, mines, and chaos. They succeed. D-Day is not just a battle won. It is the beginning of the end of Nazi Germany. The cost of freedom. More than 2,500 Americans die on D-Day. Thousands more are wounded. But their sacrifice liberates France, opens the path to Berlin, and shapes the future of America itself. Because on those beaches, the world learned what Americans were willing to fight and die for: freedom, democracy, and a safer world for generations to come. Closing scene: legacy. Today the beaches of Normandy are peaceful. Waves roll quietly where chaos once ruled. White crosses mark the graves of heroes whose courage changed history. D-Day was more than a battle. It was the day America helped save the world. And the day the world discovered what America truly stands for. June 6, 1944 did not happen overnight. The success of the Normandy landings was the result of years of planning, deception, sacrifice, and preparation. Here is the full build-up story. 1. The turning point. 1942 to 1943. After Pearl Harbor, the United States entered the war with massive industrial power. But in Europe, Hitler's armies controlled almost every coastline. The Allies knew, to defeat Nazi Germany, they must return to Western Europe. By 1943, the US and Britain agreed. A full-scale invasion of France was the only way to end the war. 2. Planning begins. Operation Overlord. General Dwight D. Eisenhower was chosen to lead the greatest invasion in history. He faced impossible questions. Where can we land? How will we get 150,000 soldiers across the sea? How do we hide the invasion from Hitler? The answer became Operation Overlord. A secret plan so big that it involved millions of troops, ships, tanks, and factories working non-stop. 3. The deception game, fooling Hitler. To give the invasion a chance, the Allies launched the biggest deception operation ever. Operation Fortitude. They created a fake army called the 1st U.S. Army Group, led by General Patton. It had inflatable tanks, wooden airplanes, fake radio signals, double agents feeding lies to Germany. The goal? Convince Hitler that the invasion would come at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. It worked. Hitler moved his strongest defenders to the wrong location. 4. Training the invasion force. Across Britain, thousands of camps, fields, and beaches turned into training grounds. American, British, Canadian, and Polish troops practiced amphibious assaults, street fighting, beach landings, airborne drops behind enemy lines. Factories in the U.S. produced thousands of landing craft, millions of rifles, tons of ammunition, special tanks for beach assaults, DD tanks, flamethrowers, mine-clearing tanks. The scale was unimaginable. 5. The greatest military port ever built. Normandy didn't have a major port, so the Allies built one. Actually, two. These were the Mulberry Harbors, portable, floating ports transported across the English Channel. They created an instant harbor within hours of landing. This engineering miracle made the invasion possible. 6. The weather crisis. Originally, D-Day was scheduled for June 5th. But a massive storm hit the channel. Wind, fog, high waves. Landing under those conditions would mean disaster. Eisenhower waited and waited. Then on June 4th, his weather team found a 24-hour window of calmer weather. Eisenhower made the hardest decision of his life. Okay, let's go. 7. The night before D-Day. June 5, 1944. Thousands of paratroopers boarded planes. Tens of thousands of soldiers climbed into landing craft. Warships moved into position. Eisenhower walked among the troops, wishing them luck. Every man knew history would be written tomorrow. 8. Dawn of the invasion. At 6:30 a.m. on June 6, 1944, the world changed. 5,000 ships, 11,000 aircraft, 156,000 soldiers. After 4 long years of war, the Allies had one dream: take back Europe from Nazi Germany. But to do that, they needed a plan so big, so secret, and so risky that the whole world depended on it. This plan was called Operation Overlord. America, Britain, and Canada gathered their best generals. They chose Dwight D. Eisenhower as the man in charge. He had to lead the largest invasion in human history. First, the Allies had to fool Hitler. So they created fake tanks, fake airplanes, even a fake army, all to trick Germany into thinking the attack would land somewhere else. This deception was called Operation Bodyguard. Next came the training. Soldiers practiced day and night, storming beaches, climbing cliffs, parachuting behind enemy lines. Every move had to be perfect. But the biggest challenge was the weather. Storms could destroy ships. Fog could blind pilots. One wrong day, and the invasion would fail. Finally, after days of waiting, the message came. June 6. We go. Eisenhower gave the final order. Thousands of ships began crossing the English Channel. Paratroopers flew into the dark sky. The greatest operation of the war had begun. Operation Overlord. The plan that would change history forever. On the night of June 5, 1944, the air in southern England was heavy with silence. Inside a dimly lit hangar, hundreds of American paratroopers stood shoulder to shoulder, staring at a giant map of Normandy. An officer traced the lines with his finger. Bridges to capture, roads to block, villages to liberate. Everyone knew. This was the night before the biggest invasion in history. Some soldiers tightened their gear with shaking hands. Others quietly wrote final letters home, folding them with the fear that tomorrow they might not return. Red lights glowed across the hangar, reflecting off helmets and worried faces. Outside, rows of C-47 transport planes waited like steel giants on the dark runway. Engines roared one by one. The ground shook as soldiers marched toward them, boots echoing in the night. The wind carried a mix of fear and destiny. Inside the planes, the world turned quiet again. The cabin glowed in soft red light. Soldiers sat on metal benches, gripping rifles, listening to the engines thundering around them. Some whispered prayers. Others stared at photos of families they hoped to see again. Then the planes lifted off. Below them, the English Channel stretched like a black void. Ahead lay France, enemy territory. As the formation flew deeper, the night exploded with danger. German anti-aircraft guns fired up at the planes, filling the sky with red tracers and bursting shells. The aircraft shook violently. Some soldiers vomited. Others simply closed their eyes and waited. Suddenly the red light inside the plane turned green. Go, go, go. One by one they jumped into the darkness. The cold wind ripped at their bodies. For a few terrifying seconds, there was nothing but black sky. Then the parachutes snapped open. Below them, Normandy burned. Farmhouses on fire. Explosions lighting the fields, searchlights cutting through clouds. Paratroopers landed scattered across the countryside. Some fell into marshes, some landed in trees, some dropped right into German patrols. But small groups quickly formed in the hedgerows. Mud on their faces, hearts pounding, they began their mission. They blew up bridges, captured crossroads, silenced German positions, confused the enemy, and prepared the way for the Allied invasion that would begin at dawn on D-Day. By sunrise, many paratroopers were gone, but their courage had changed the course of the war. They were the first to fight on D-Day, and the ones who lit the path for freedom.